ChatGPT, relate ACIM to the movie Mary Magdalene. Mary Magdalene through the lens of A Course in Miracles, ACM. Mary Magdalene can be viewed through ACIM as a story of awakening from the world's definitions and learning to trust the direct experience of God. While the film is set within a biblical context, its deeper themes resonate strongly with many of the spiritual dynamics explored throughout the Course. The call to leave behind false identity, the challenge of listening to inner guidance, the undoing of judgment, and the recognition that the kingdom of heaven is within. The call to leave the old identity. At the beginning of the film, Mary feels increasingly disconnected from the roles and expectations that society has assigned to her. Others tell her who she should be, how she should live, what her purpose should be, yet something deeper is calling. This parallels one of the first stages of spiritual awakening described in ACIM. The ego builds identity from roles: daughter, son, worker, parent, success, failure, victim, hero. The Holy Spirit gently asks, is that really what you are? Mary's willingness to follow the call beyond social expectations symbolizes the willingness to question the self-concept. Listening to inner guidance. One of the strongest themes in the film is Mary's trust in direct inner knowing. While others argue, speculate, and interpret, Mary repeatedly returns to an inner certainty, places tremendous emphasis on guidance. The Holy Spirit speaks quietly. The ego speaks loudly. The ego seeks certainty through external authority. The Holy Spirit guides from within. Mary's journey symbolizes the growing willingness to trust that inner teacher, the kingdom within. Many characters in the film anticipate a dramatic transformation of the external world. They expect political change, social change, a visible kingdom. This mirrors the ego's search for salvation in form. The ego always looks outward. The Course teaches that the kingdom of heaven is not something that arrives in the future. It is a present reality waiting to be remembered. Mary gradually appears to grasp this more deeply than many around her. She begins to recognize that transformation is fundamentally an inner awakening. Forgiveness over judgment. Throughout the film, there are repeated opportunities for judgment. People misunderstand one another, project expectations onto one another, interpret events differently. Teaches that judgment is the primary obstacle to vision. Forgiveness is not merely a moral act. It is a way of seeing. To forgive is to look beyond appearances and recognize innocence. Mary repeatedly embodies this quality of openness and compassion. She often responds with understanding where others respond with condemnation. The misunderstood messenger. One of the recurring themes in spiritual history is that genuine messages are often misunderstood. The world interprets through its own fears and expectations. ACIM teaches that the ego translates everything into its own language. Love becomes sacrifice. Guidance becomes threat. Freedom becomes loss. Truth often appears strange to a mind invested in illusion. Mary's experience throughout the film reflects the loneliness and courage that can accompany authentic spiritual listening. The resurrection symbol, whether viewed historically, symbolically, or spiritually, resurrection occupies a central place in the film. In ACIM, resurrection represents awakening. It is not merely an event, it is a shift in consciousness. The resurrection symbolizes the recognition that life is not contained within the body. The body may appear and disappear. The self remains. The film repeatedly points toward this movement from identification with form toward recognition of something eternal. Mary as a symbol. Viewed symbolically, Mary can represent the receptive mind, the willing mind, the listening mind. Not passive, not weak, but open throughout. Healing begins with willingness, not certainty, not theological correctness, not intellectual mastery, simply willingness. Mary's strength comes from her openness to truth rather than her attachment to concepts. The central reflection. The ego watches Mary Magdalene and asks, what is the correct interpretation of these events? The Holy Spirit watches Mary Magdalene and asks, am I willing to hear the voice for God within my own mind? Viewed through ACM, the film becomes a story of awakening from externally imposed identities and discovering the living presence of God within. Mary's journey reflects the movement from social conditioning to spiritual knowing, from external authority to inner guidance, and from judgment to forgiveness. The deepest message may be, the kingdom is not found through worldly roles, religious status, or external achievement. It is remembered through quiet listening, forgiveness, and the recognition that God's presence has always been within. Go to mwge.org to find full movie and commentary by David Hoffmeister.